Recently, Montana forestry workers and those in Veterans Affairs lost their jobs, along with a U.S. agency for international development jobs were either lost or stopped. And what that means for Montanans, and we are working on getting you answers. And with that being said, I want to welcome Congressman Ryan Zinke. I know you're a very busy guy, but thank you for taking the time to join us this morning.
I enjoy being in Montana, and I enjoy being with you too. It's going to be great.
Well, Montanans, they've got a lot of questions, and I want to ask you how it's going so far, and also what it's like getting support from the Trump administration. But before we go there, I do have to ask about Montanans. There's some concern. We've been getting a lot of feedback on our social media pages about the loss of jobs, and they're worried about the future of the economy in the state. When you hear that, what's your answer to them?
Well, loss of jobs, you look at the abuse, all right? I think we can all agree with there's too much fraud, waste, and abuse. The figures I've seen are almost $1 trillion with a T. So when I came in as secretary, we were giving grants out, about $5.5 billion worth of grants. And just like today, we don't know where the money's going. At the Treasury level, $7 trillion worth of expenses out, and not one was denied. Not one was denied. I mean, that's an impossibility. So the amount of fraud is significant. In Montana, the big concern was, look, we have parks opening up in the spring. We have fire, and those are seasonal jobs. And the original jobs issue was across the board, all stop, right? Well, we talked to Doug Burgum, the secretary, and everyone understands, look, the fire season is going to happen. We need to hire. There's a lot of ways we can hire better, rather than going to Washington, D.C. from Jobs USA. I'm a big advocate for the local superintendent, the regional directors to make those hires because they know who's good and they know who's going to do the job well. But what happened now is across the board, all stop. And what will happen is the good jobs will remain, the bad jobs will be eliminated, and the great jobs will excel. So it'll take a little time to walk through, but the biggest thing for Montana on the fire season coming up is the seasonal jobs are being rehired, and the parks will stay open.
Well, then, as a follow-up to that, I have to ask, with a lot of those probationary jobs, what happens to those that do retire? Then aren't the probationary jobs those kind of setting it up to kind of move up the ladder? So those people that lose those jobs, I guess, where are they at? Like, how do you kind of rebuild, I guess? Because it seems like it's a lot of probationary jobs. Yeah,
there's probationary jobs in the last year of hire. But there's some problems with it, too. When you go last year, some of the contracts are a year, too. And some of those contracts provide logistical support, let's say, for firefighters. So they're working through it. I think it was a good thing to say, all stop, let's evaluate. Let's not waste money. Let's make sure the jobs are in the right place. My opinion is we're going to have to reorganize. Okay. It's not just cutting one job or adding another. It's the structure that needs to be changed, and the focus needs to be changed. In Montana, the focus should be forest management. But yet we burn down our forests every year. We interrupt habitat because of lack of management. So let's go back to managing our greatest gem, which is our outdoors, and make sure we can have outdoor activity that's entertaining, fun, and safe.
Well, I do want to ask you about the public land use, but before I go to that, because we were talking about the economy, I do want to ask you, there are people that are concerned, well, I need a job to survive and to want to stay in Montana, and Montanans believing that this is where they want to be, but how can they afford the housing? So when you hear the talk about affordable housing, what's your answer to them? How do you make it more affordable? What is being done to help Montanans stay in Montana and afford Montana?
Well, affordable housing, let's look at Sealy Lake, for instance. Sealy Lake lost their lumber mill in part due to affordable housing. So Sealy Lake, it doesn't have a sewer system. So it's really hard to build an 8-plex or a 12-plex affordable housing when you don't have a sewer system and you don't have water. So you look at our infrastructure across Montana, Evergreen. Evergreen is on septics. So about every 10 years, you have big floods in the Flathead, and all that goes where? It goes to the Flathead. So, infrastructure, we have bridges that can't handle a school bus loaded across that were built in the 1940s. Infrastructure on affordable housing is important. The figure is about 40% of cost of a house, of a new house, is on permits. So that can be switched down, and then we need the interest rates. Look, when the interest rates go from 4 to 7, that can double your mortgage. So concentrate on fiscal discipline, get our interest rates down where they should be in the 4 to 5 zone, work on permitting, squish that down, and then in affordable housing we can look at ways of gaining title. You know, because it is, when you buy a house, what you buy is the title, right? And it's really difficult to sometimes have a condo or an 8-plex in title. I think we should look at making title a little more accessible.
Well, and we only have like 8 minutes. It's going by quick, and I wanted to ask you a lot of different things, but I have to ask you, do you feel like you're getting the support in your term in working with the Trump administration? I know you said recently in an interview that you love what DOJ is doing. Is that true, and do you really feel you're getting the support to get what you need done?
Well, I'm the only former secretary in Congress and a SEAL. There are now 6 SEALs in the House of Representatives and 1 in the Senate, and that doesn't happen by chance. But yeah, with the support, and look, we should all ask to make sure that our tax dollars go in the right places. And DOJ, when they come in, and again, $7 trillion, nothing denied. No payment ever denied in $7 trillion. And you look at the abuse in USAID. You know, you and I we can have a discussion and discuss the merits of, let's say, sex change operations in Guatemala, or spending, you know, $17 million on condoms for the Taliban. We can have that debate, but we shouldn't have the debate is the dollars should be, 1, transparent, and they should be accountable. And on that, there should be no debate.
Well, we're losing time here, but I got to ask you, I know you're a big advocate of Montana and the public land use. Are you getting the support you need on that? Do you like where things are headed? Because I know that was a big thing that you pushed even in your campaign.
Well, there's some things I don't bend on. I don't bend on the Constitution of the United States. And the second one, I don't bend on Montana land. You know, I've always been an advocate. I'm not an advocate for selling or transferring public land. But we need to manage it better. You know, we should have a healthy environment outside. We should have access. You know, public access should not be on the basis of onyx. It should be well-known and established. And we need to look at corridors and systems. There's a lot we can do to protect our outdoor experience of why we live in Montana. I have a good relationship with the President, a good relationship with the new Secretary of Interior, and I'm an optimist that, look, we'll turn the page and start looking at system health and management of our greatest asset, I think, is our public lands.
Well, we could talk all day here because I know there's a lot of other questions. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I do appreciate you taking not only the time, but giving us great detail in your answers, because we did have questions from Montanans. They were concerned about jobs and also the future of Montana. So thank you for answering our questions and taking the time out of your busy schedule.
I'm an optimist, and God bless. Good to meet you,
nice
and welcome aboard.
Appreciate it. And you told me I got to learn how to fly fish, so that, I guess,
fly fish, float, and ski. That's it.
Well, skiing is actually something we're going to learn pretty soon. In fact, here's a quick tease. On Monday, I'm learning how to ski. So that'll be our Monday story. Look at you. You're helping us in teasing our stories. But again, we appreciate you stopping by here. And